Hi, this is Coach Shani Lavender, and today I wanted to talk to you about crying. It's a thing that most of us have some level of discomfort with, and that comes from our own upbringing, it comes from our culture. And so I think this is going to be a really useful video because what I want to do is help you become more comfortable with crying and also support you to encourage and work with your child differently when they're crying, whether you have a baby or a toddler or a tween, to really have a different relationship to crying than you may have. And if you already have the relationship I'm going to describe, great. And yet I think many of you won't because, again, most of us have discomfort with crying. So I want to share a few points. It's going to be a pretty brief video. I want to share a few things, though, to get you thinking about some new things and practicing, hopefully, some new practices. So the first thing I want to share is that crying is one of our main stress release mechanisms. So it changes over time. Now, certainly for babies, it's one of their only stress relief mechanisms because they don't have language yet. Besides crying, they don't have other ways. They can't exercise. I mean, they can be physically vigorous and maybe get out some of that bodily stress. But other than that, crying is certainly one of the primary modes for infants. But even throughout our whole lifespan, crying is a stress relief mechanism, stress relief and stress release mechanism. And there's lots to it. And I'm not going to go into detail. I simply want you to know that it is really important way that our bodies physiologically have developed to help get toxins out of our system, to help release emotional buildup from the stress that we feel, to help us get back into a state of balance, homeostasis in our physical bodies. So it's healthy. It's not something we don't want to do. It's something we want to say, yay, crying, that's a good thing in my child. So that's point number one. To encourage our children to have that stress release, what we need to do is we need to accept their crying and we need to empathize with it. In other words, we need to help create a safe container that says, this is okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to use this as a way to help yourself heal, help yourself come back into balance, help yourself come out of a sad, hurt, angry, depressed state, whatever's going on emotionally. So that means we don't want to be doing things that are trying to stop the crying. So we don't want to be giving them pacifiers. We don't want to be rocking them, hugging them unnecessarily. It doesn't mean you can't do those things for comfort. And yet what happens often without us realizing it is we're rocking or we're nursing or we're giving a bottle or we're distracting. We're doing something to try and get the child to stop crying. We don't want to do that. That's actually not a healthy thing. Now, it doesn't mean there aren't times when you might not do that. So I'm not saying beat yourself up or judge yourself for those times you've done it, because I've done it too. It's simply that we want to reframe how we approach crying. So instead of trying to distract, immediately stop or do something, what you want to do is create that safety and that sense of confidence that it's okay to do this thing. That will actually help your child ultimately stop crying and gain the benefits that crying gives them in the meantime. So it does both and. So rather than distracting and stopping it, trying to stop it right away, you want to have that crying expressed so that it can give your child the benefits that crying provides. And then they feel heard and safe and seen and secure. And so then they will stop crying. So it's a progression rather than an instant thing. So that's what I want to invite you to do, is really open up that space. I'm here for you. I hear you. Maybe you're reflecting back some of what you're aware is going on. You're feeling really sad. That was scary. Oh, it's hard to be 3. It's hard, to leave mama. It's hard to have grandma go away after visiting. Whatever you're saying, you can help them know that, yeah, their feelings that they're feeling, those are normal. So you're normalizing emotions for them. You're also helping them release that is what's going on from them, release it through their crying so that they can move through it and come back to that state of balance. So again, don't do the distracting things. Don't do the calming things for the purpose of getting them to stop crying. If it helps them to be held while they cry, that's a great thing. So you're not holding them to stop them from crying, you're holding them to create that space. So there's a distinction there, and it may take you some practice to do that. So again, they have lots of stress to relieve, things that have been hurts that either people have done intentionally or unintentionally, or they've just been hurt, or sometimes their needs haven't been met, again, intentionally and unintentionally, and that's another source of stress for them. They have things that come up with life. So a new sibling, or the end of summer, or start of a school year, something like that. All those are legitimate hurts that our children have, and that they use crying as one of their stress release mechanisms. So acknowledge that, accept it. Yes, crying, yay, you're crying. I'm here with you. I'll be with you. It's okay to let those feelings out. Help them accept those emotions, empathize with them so they know you hear them, you're understanding what's going on. Don't try and stop things. Be with them through that process. And one of the long-term things, besides the immediate stress relief benefits that you're helping provide them by allowing them to cry, is you're helping them develop some of the skills that they will need as they grow and mature to monitor their own system. Like, oh, you know what? I need a cry, or I need a laugh. I need something because I've got something's weighing on my mind or my heart. Those things, you're helping them develop those skills every time you are empathetic with them and hear them and work with them as they cry. So I want to invite you to do those things. If you have challenges, either specific, like, oh, this is what's really hard for me when my child cries, let me know. Post a comment on the video, and I'll be glad to respond to you. Again, though, the bottom line here is that crying is not something that we want to be stopping. It's something we want to support in a very specific, loving way, helping our children have that stress relief, have that sense of being safe, seen, soothed, and secure, so that they are held in all those emotions and all those painful parts of life that come up. Because if we don't do those things, then what happens over time is that, like many of us may have had, children repress those feelings and they develop ways to control it, whether it's through sucking their thumb, biting their nails, banging their heads, really having some rigid behaviors. All those things aren't going to help them. And it's what shows up as adults. When we learn that as children, it turns into things like disordered eating, substance abuse, all kinds of still some of the same habits, nail biting, those nervous habits that they get called, those habits that some of us even have had or worked through as adults. So you don't want those for your kids. I know you don't. So work with them, be accepting of crying, be with your children, know that crying has a very positive function and you want to help support that, and your children need your support. So I hope that's helpful. Again, if you have comments or questions, feel free to leave a comment on the video and I'll do my best to respond. Thanks so much. Have a great day.